In today's episode, we are savoring Daniel's final episode as co-host.
And later, we've got 3 spooky ghost stories for you.
But first, I'm Stacy Grinsfelder.
And I'm Daniel Kanter, and you're listening to True Tales from Old Houses.
Hi, Daniel.
Hello, Stacy. How are you?
Well, I'm good, but I'm sad.
I'm sad.
But I'm happy for you, but I'm sad. I'm feeling everything right now.
Yeah, so we discussed on last episode, I am stepping back from the podcast to develop some other things in my life. But so yes, this is my last episode as co-host. It's been such an absolute pleasure. You can continue to follow me over on Instagram. It's just my name, Daniel Kanter, and I'm gonna miss this.
Yeah,
I'm sad.
Definitely. You can get the full scoop on the first episode of season 13. And anyway, we'll talk about some more things. But before we launch into this episode, I do want to go ahead and say thank you to our season 13 sponsors, Sutherland Wells, Heritage Supply Co., formerly the Craftsman Store, Repaint Studios, and Bruns & Co. Linseed Oil Paint. Thank you so much.
Yes, huge thank you to our sponsors. All of them are listed on the True Tales from Old Houses website, along with their current coupon codes if they're offering one. So if you ever forget a code or the website URL or the business name, it's all on there. Please do use those codes. That's how they know their ads are working.
And it's in the show notes too. So anyway, you can never forget because we have it listed absolutely everywhere. Today, your final episode. Last week, we caught up on a lot of your projects, things that you have been doing last summer, last fall. Although I did ask you about apples, and I feel like we can't move on until I know. Did you continue your apple taste testing?
Well, I did for a while, and then, like so many things, I just sort of lost the passion. I think I landed on Fuji as my top contender, followed by Honeycrisp, followed by Pink Lady, Red Delicious always at the bottom.
Yeah, so no new information there. All right.
I don't think so. I think that's, more or less left off.
Okay. We can put that story
Super
to bed
exciting.
then.
Super
no, that's
important.
okay. We can put that story to bed. That's important. All right. Well, it is ghost stories. I don't really have anything new. Nothing new and spooky has happened in Blake Hill House. Certainly nothing in this apartment building that I'm sitting in.
The condo's not haunted.
No, the apartment is not haunted. Have you had anything new at your house?
Funny you should ask. 2 days ago, yesterday, 2 days ago, I was down in the crawl space under my first floor bathroom and pantry. It is a tight space, kind of gross. So I'm crawling around down there. It's really yucky. I also realized partway through that I'm crawling literally just like right under where the previous owner of my house passed away. So like same location, kind of weird, kind of gross. And I like see out of the corner, like it's blinking, and I look up and my lights are blinking, and like that never happens. And it was really weird. And like, I haven't done anything I've been doing a lot of stuff on the house, but this was like, I tore up subfloors and I'm framing it like it felt kind of big, and I don't know, it kept blinking, and it was weird, and my job site was really messy, and there's wood sticking with nails sticking up out of it, like just waiting for me to step on, and like, I'm like, okay, and I took a beat, and I did the thing. I was just like, if you're here, if somebody's here, please understand, like, I know this looks bad, but this is a really good thing for the house. It's going to be really like, this is a real improvement, just trust me. And then I spent a little bit of time cleaning up in case it was also a warning of like, you're about to injure yourself because you're stumbling over your saws and things. And I proceeded a little bit more carefully, and it stopped. And that was odd.
That
was
is
just
really
an odd
odd
thing. It was just one of those little moments. And it's like I'm glad you asked about it, because in a week I wouldn't remember that this happened.
Right.
So
right.
These little things late at night. Ooh. So yeah.
My kids still see a phantom drip in the pantry, and they talk about it whenever they get together, and they see it frequently enough that, it's a big topic of discussion, and they see it year round, just whenever they come home, when they get together. I have never seen the phantom drip, but of course I've told other stories on this show about things that have happened to me over the course of the years that we've lived there. Go ahead.
So I had the drip experience too.
I didn't
And
know
so
that.
I see a drip, I feel a drip. I'm like, "Oh my god, I've heard about this from Stacy."
Really?
And then I realize my roof is just leaking.
Tis the
But
ice
my
dam
first thought,
season.
I swear to God, my first thought was ghost. This is
Yeah,
this is paranormal stuff Stacy's told me about, so
that's funny.
you've
Well,
left an
I would
impression.
panic. Yeah, I would absolutely panic, except when they first told me about it, two things happened. First, it was the summer. And
Mhm,
second, there is no bathroom above it. Thank goodness.
mhm.
So
Yeah,
water always seeks the what is that? What is that saying? Water seeks. Oh
I
my
don't
God.
know.
I the thing that always annoys me about this show is that I feel really smart until I come on here and try to like use a saying that I know, and then all of a sudden
Right,
my brain is like, "Zoop," don't
right.
remember whatsoever.
Well, and I don't know if you have this experience, but sometimes listening back, I'm like, "Oh my word, the things that just come out of my mouth that sound perfectly normal in the
Like
moment," and then I'm like,
like
"That's not a word."
have a
What is
jack of all flavors. I've been
jack of
laughing
all
about that
flavors? Yeah.
for
What is
days. A jack of
See,
all
this is why I
flavors.
gotta pack it in. This microphone's seen too much. Uh,
Anyway, the idea
anyway.
that water seeks the lowest level, I don't know what it is. Anyway, it flows downhill. So the point is water flows downhill, but it's pretty
Mhm.
far from my bathroom. So the phantom drip cannot be coming from one of my bathrooms because water in my house leans the other direction. How's that?
Right, right,
Does that
right.
clear things up?
Yeah, so, yeah. You have phantom drip, I have real drip.
You have real
I
drips.
think I would prefer the ghost drip. Now I have to fix the roof. Anyway.
What do you think you've learned the most from doing these ghost story episodes? For me, I'll give you an example. For me, it's been to just express myself, just to say,
Mm,
like you had said, I'm trying to do the right thing here. If you are having a problem with this, Mr. Ghost or Mrs. Ghost or Ms. Ghost, just give me a minute. I'm going to do the
mhm.
right thing here. Stop bothering me. That's what I have probably learned from doing these ghost story episodes. Whether or not I believe, can't say. How about you?
I think the impulse is to want this thing out of your house that you didn't agree to live there. But what seems effective is respect and sort of creating the space for the ghost to have their ghostly experience while you have yours.
Yeah, coexist.
Fascinating. Yeah, peaceful coexistence with your ghosts. And I'm always surprised by how many people we've talked to that have brought in a third party to evaluate. Like, that's super interesting to me. And it
Yeah,
seems like a very useful thing to do. So if you're, I guess, I just keep that in the back of my brain. If things ever really kick up over here, we'll call somebody.
right, right. It's never crossed my mind. I don't think I would ever call someone.
Really.
Really? Yeah, I would never call someone to come in
But
and
like,
do a clearing.
what if like things are like flying around the room?
I don't know. We haven't gotten there yet.
Bring
It
that
just
down.
wouldn't, I don't know. Now that you said that, I don't know. But it just, at this point, doesn't seem like something I would do. To me, it feels like it would stir too much up. I
I
feel like
know.
that person could be the conduit or the portal to something worse. I would
Right.
rather just be like, I'm a nice person. You're a nice ghost. Surely we can work this out between the two of us. That's
Yeah.
kind of how I feel. But I don't know.
Well, you never know. I mean, I think that's another thing we've learned is like you just don't know how you're going to react
Yeah.
in those situations.
Mhm. Well, good
Especially
point.
as a skeptic, we've spoken to a lot of skeptics that have
Yeah.
been sort of converted by their own experience,
Right,
which I love.
right.
That's my favorite.
Yeah, I do. I do too. Well, this is our last time together, I guess, before
Ever.
we will never see each other again. No, that's not true.
You
But our
said
last time on the mic together, is there anything you want to say, I guess, before we kind of launch in or before we launch into these ghost stories for today? I mean, we'll say goodbye at the end, but
well, gosh. Well, I don't, at the risk of being very redundant from last episode, I do just want to say thank you again to the sponsors, to all the people we've interviewed, to the listeners, of course, mostly to Stacy for trusting me to do this with her and being extremely generous with me in the process as I learned and continue to learn through this very day how to work my mic stand and things like that. And yeah, this has been really, really fun. Maybe Stacy will have me back every, now and again just to
oh,
catch up.
yes.
But
Let's do. Let's do it.
I will miss this. I really will, but I think this is the right thing for me right now.
All right. Well, let us take a break. How about that?
Sounds good. The first story is up next.
We are back.
We're back. In this first story, you'll meet Troy, whose search for a piece of his home's history took a turn that still does not quite make sense.
Hello, I'm Troy Thomas, and I live in a house that was built in 1897 in Schaefferstown, Pennsylvania.
Hi, Troy.
Welcome.
Hey, thank you. Thank you for having me.
So good to meet you. You are here to tell us a little bit about your experiences in, I don't know, maybe your house currently is haunted. We're doing spooky season outside of the normal October, and you've got a story to tell us today. So why don't you
I do.
maybe set the stage? Did it happen in the house where you are now, or is this a story from a past house you've lived in?
So, this particular story happened in the house that I live in right now. But I would like to explain that growing up, myself as well as my wife, we both grew up in houses that were built in the mid to late 1800s. And I definitely had different experiences in the house that I grew up in as a child. So it's really no surprise or nothing that scared me having more experiences now in the house that I live in today. But the fact that my wife and I both liked older homes, we were always searching for older homes then when we started looking on the market when we were in our late 20s. And one thing that we always wanted a house that felt like a home right when you enter it. If you understand, sometimes that house is just really
Yeah.
welcoming and sometimes maybe not so much. But fortunately, with the house that we live in now, it felt so warm and just welcoming as soon as we entered the door. And when
Uh-huh.
my wife came to see it as well, she felt the same way. So that's how we ended up purchasing this house here. But to give you a little bit of background on the history of this house was actually the land that it's on was donated by the founder of the town. So
Hmm.
Alexander Schaefer, one of his descendants, donated the property to the local church to serve as a parsonage for the Reverend and his family. And the house was completed along with the barn that's on the property in 1897. So one of the neat things, though, about the property is everything's been documented because it served as a parsonage from 1897 to 1973, around that time
Oh, wow.
period.
Wow.
So all of the documentation, I know the house was built for approximately between $3,000 and $4,000, and the barn cost $500 to build. I also
Wow.
know when hot water was installed. I also know when the cast iron radiators were put in for heat. So it is unique in the fact that all of that documentation
That's
Yeah,
is
so
that's really
there.
neat.
cool. So cool.
Wow, that's
But
great.
one of the things that I always liked was the community was very, they embraced us because we were the young folks at the time to come into town. So my neighbor who has since passed away, when I moved here, he was in his 90s already. And he showed me a calendar that was the bicentennial calendar for the town. Now, this town was founded in 1758.
Uh-huh.
So he shared the bicentennial calendar with me and he said, "Hey, your house is in there." It was like, I think it was like the month of February it was in there. And I was like, wow, that is such a cool photo. It was a 3/4 shot photo from the front street, which would have been a dirt street at the time, with a figure standing on the front porch who I assume is the first reverend to occupy the house in
Right.
the late 1800s. So I asked my neighbor, where is this photo? Is this around? And he said he's never seen it. He only saw it in the calendar. So our town has a really active historic society, and I found other publications where the house is in, and they're photos of the backyard where at that time it was like a farmette behind the barn.
Right.
And this 3/4 shot in the front, again, is in every publication. So I talked to people with the Historic Society. I also talked to the author of several of the books. I talked to our local museum, and nobody knows the whereabouts of that photo. They said they're just taking a copy of it from a
Right.
prior publication, and that's how
Gotcha.
they're putting it in all these different books.
Right.
So we have in town here, we have a cherry festival and a harvest festival every year on the Schaefer farm, the founder of the town, his original farm. And it's a really cool event. Local artisans come there to sell their crafts. And we decided that I wanted to take my mom there one year. And she's like, okay, well, what can you get there that would be neat to buy? So I showed her that we bought pottery there in the past. And my wife said, let me get one out of the china cabinet that we have in the dining room, and then you can see what we buy there. Well, my wife goes into the china cabinet, and all of a sudden I hear her say, Troy, come over here. This is weird. I go over to the china cabinet, and she said, what is this in here? And I said, I didn't put that in there. We open up the china cabinet. There's the original photo that I have been
No.
asking everybody about. And
What?
keep in mind, that china cabinet, my wife and I purchased it when we bought the house. That wasn't here. But this was prominently displayed in the middle of that cabinet,
What?
just
Oh,
like
my
waiting for
goodness.
us to find it. And oh my gosh, it made the hair stand up on my
Okay. All
neck.
right. So
I love it so much. Okay.
I'm going to pause for just a second to say that for those of you who are listening to this on audio, Troy is holding up the picture. So we'll put this also on YouTube where you can see the photo. And hopefully, Troy, you'll send that photo to me, maybe
Absolutely.
a picture of the picture, just like everybody
Yeah,
else. And I
absolutely.
will put it on the True Tales from Old Houses website or on social media or something so you can see that. But that just blows my mind. So let me
Oh,
just
it blew my
repeat
mind.
what you said so that I can make sure I understand. You did not own that china cabinet, or did you bring the china cabinet with you and somehow that photo ended up in it?
No, we bought that brand new when we bought our
Oh,
house. So that china cabinet, we put that in here right away when we bought the house. So it was completely empty. And then over the years, we've just put in things that were sentimental to us, plates and things that, we've had, but never a photo. And that photo was right in the middle. My mom thought it was
Wow.
hilarious.
was it like sitting up? Was it under a piece of pottery? I don't know. I'm just trying to wrap my head
No,
around
it
this.
was right in the middle of the various plates. It was dead center in there. Like the light of the china cabinet would hit it perfectly. It was just like waiting for us to find it. Crazy.
What?
Dating.
That is wild. The closest we have ever come to a story like this is, I can't remember. It was several years ago, and I cannot remember his name. If you were out there and you were listening to this story, remind me who you are. But he had found a picture of his house, I think, in a book that was out of print, and he'd found it far away in a sale somewhere, and it was just sort of randomly he found it. But yeah, that's about as close as we've come to a story similar to yours, but never just like popping up, in your house in a china
Right.
cabinet that you bought brand new. That is wild. So you really have no idea. Nobody's fessed up to this. Nobody's like,
No,
oh,
no, not at all. And
hmm.
everybody I've spoken to over the years, nobody knew the whereabouts of this photo. I even talked to the church that owned the house, and they said, yeah, our archives we don't have any photos. Anything we would have had would have been donated to the museum. And the museum didn't own the photo. They don't own it now. I do.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So, Daniel, what's your take on this? Of course, I'm monopolizing the conversation, but
I
you
mean,
love this
I'm just
stuff.
stunned. I love it. I don't have a take beyond how cool. And also, I mean, I believe you that your friends and cohorts are trustworthy and didn't plant it. So,
Yeah.
wow, how
Yeah.
exciting. What else? What else happened?
Okay, so as far as that photo, the only take I have on it is obviously either the house or somebody involved in this house over the years realized how important that photo was to me and that I was asking everybody, and that's how it got here. I
Right.
can't explain it any other way.
And then they broke into your house in the middle of the night,
Right?
scarier
Right.
than the ghost.
Right. So I do have two other stories that are off the top of my head here that I could tell you that are short, incidents that
Absolutely.
happened here.
Yeah,
Yes.
sure.
Okay, so one of them was in my barn. I work on cars in there sometimes, but I was working on my mother's car, and I was listening to one of the classic rock radio stations out there just to focus a little bit better. And things were not going very well for me that day working on the car. And I recall I had a couple choice words with the car because things were not working out well. And all of a sudden, Christmas music, like a church choir, came over my stereo. And
Uh-huh.
I thought, oh, well, it's probably really close to another radio station. I didn't think anything of it. Walked over, but then I noticed, wow, that dial is at the total opposite end of the spectrum. So how did it get there? So I turned it back to the radio station I originally had on, the classic rock. I go back to working again, and it was maybe 10, 15 minutes past, and my wrench slipped, and I was so angry and frustrated because things weren't going my way. I threw the wrench. All of a sudden, I hear the radio station change. It goes right back to the Christmas music because this was right around Christmas time. And it was the church choir singing again. I walked over to the stereo. I saw that it was on a different station. I said, okay, you win. I'm done for the night. I turned it off and went in the house.
Somebody thought you maybe needed a little Jesus in your life. Is that what I'm hearing?
I think so. I think that might have been it.
So it was actually something, we don't know what it was, had changed
Something.
the dial to something more
Yeah.
what they felt like you needed to hear at that time.
Oh, right. Right. Yeah, I
Wow.
think it was trying to tell me to calm down.
Yeah.
The spirit of the season.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Wow. Okay, so
You know,
we have sentimental ghosts, we have religious ghosts. What else?
Yes.
there is another one that surrounds music that
Okay.
when my daughter was just an infant in her room, we had her in her crib. And at night for her to fall asleep, we'd play lullabies, okay, on a little radio there. And when she'd fall asleep, I'd sneak in there and I'd turn off the music and then go back to bed. Well, usually that's how it worked. But this one night, went into the room, turned the music off, went back to my room. As soon as I laid down in bed, the lullabies started again. So my wife looks at me and she says, the music started again. I'm like, yeah, that's weird. I'll go in and turn it off. Walked back in there, turned it off again, slowly backed out the room because, old houses have creaky floors. And as soon as I got back into bed, it came back on again.
Oh, no.
So I was like, this is ridiculous. Well, I went in there one more time. I turned it off and I said, listen, whoever you are, you may think this is hilarious, but I have a daughter that needs sleep and I definitely need sleep. And that was it. It didn't turn back on again.
Whoa.
Oh, that's great. That's great. So I have to know, because we've heard from you, but what does your wife
Mhm.
think about this? You said you both grew up in old houses.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Together, what is her take on all this?
Well, it's one of those things where she's happy that I'm open to it, and I'm one of those, if anything weird happens, I will openly talk about it to whoever's in the house to listen, hoping that, hey, I know you're here. It's fine. You're welcome as long as you're not doing anything too crazy. So my wife doesn't get too scared about it because she knows I'm kind of on board with this whole thing too. So I think it helps out if both of you really don't get frightened by this, that it makes it easier.
Yeah.
That does seem to be like a common winning strategy is
Yeah.
be kind, be accepting, but firm.
Right.
Fair but
Yeah.
firm.
Yeah. This is our house. It was somebody else's in the past, but at the moment, this is our house.
Right. Yeah. We just spoke to an elementary school assistant principal, and she pulled out her assistant principal voice to say, just stop that right now. I will probably never forget that she pulled out her assistant principal voice to tell her ghost to go away. Wow. So your wife is definitely a believer as well, but she lets you kind of handle the details. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, Troy, thank you so much for sharing your stories today. This was very interesting.
You're quite welcome.
Just picture shows up out of nowhere. I haven't heard that one. Yeah.
That's super
All right.
cool.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yeah, great
And
to meet both of you.
we'll look forward to receiving the original copy of the photo. Thank you.
The original.
Yeah.
No, I
Wait,
just want a
that.
photo of a photo like everybody
okay,
else.
okay.
Yeah.
Right, right. Thank you both to what you do. It's wonderful. For the
Aw.
old house community, you two are wonderful. So I
So
really
nice.
appreciate the work you two do.
I
Thank you.
appreciate you, Troy. Thank you.
Thanks.
So the photo,
I guess I'm understanding correctly. It really was just upright in the
it just
center
materialized.
of the china cabinet. I don't know. I don't get it. I really
I
don't
love
get
it.
it.
I don't
Yeah.
need to get it. I love it.
So if you had to guess, though, do you think ghost or thief? Or not thief, and I guess reverse of a thief. Anti-thief. A gifter,
Let's
yes.
think. Let's think. I'm going to go with ghost because it's way more fun. I feel
Right.
like whoever did it would have copped to it at this point.
Yeah.
And it just feels very plausible based on everything we've heard. Very
Yes.
plausible.
Sounds good to me.
In this next story, this voice might sound familiar to you. Robert Killion joined us on a previous episode, and he's returned to share a few moments that made him question what he thought he believed.
My name is Robert Killion, and currently I live in East Texas in a dog trot log cabin, the main part of it is, and I've lived in several old houses, including an 1895 Victorian.
Very cool. Welcome back.
So good to see you.
Welcome back, Robert. For those of you who maybe this is your first season, Robert was here last season. He talked to us a little bit about what happens with FEMA after a natural disaster. And you mentioned, I think after the show is over, you said, if you ever need anyone to tell you some more ghost stories, I have some. And so we couldn't pass up that opportunity. You've got one for us.
Great. Actually, I have several.
Ooh.
Fantastic.
Yeah. So to start off, just to tell you guys, I'm a skeptic. I've always been a skeptic. I like to know about something before I believe it, but I've had some things happen that I can't explain. And Daniel will be happy to know there is one ghost story that I know absolutely 100% who the person is. And it made a believer out of me.
Ooh. Exciting.
So when I originally was thinking about this, I was just thinking about that episode and a couple others, but I got to thinking and I thought I'd share my first experience was as a teenager in a house that was not old. It was built in the 70s and this was early 80s. I was a teenager in high school. And my mother, my older cousin, my little brother and some of his friends, and a couple of my friends, one of which was 5-year-old, who were all at my mom's house, this house that was only less than 10 years old. And they had a Ouija board. And they were playing with the Ouija board. And one of my friends, Chuck, has a very strong personality. And he's probably one of the reasons why I got into history is because he was very interested in World War II history and everything. So they were talking to the spirit that said its name was GT. It had been a soldier and everything. And we're like, Chuck, that's you. That's you. You're doing it. So me and my friend Tim said, we're not going to, this is stupid. We're not going to do this. So we went in the other room to play the Atari 2600, to tell you the time frame. And we were in there playing the Atari, and they yelled from the other room. They said, GT says he's going to get you because you don't believe. And we're like, whatever, Chuck, stop it. You're doing this. And so we're sitting there playing Atari, and all of a sudden the screen freaked out. Rah, and made a noise. Rah, and then a 8-bit block face appeared on the TV.
No.
Ooh.
And we both screamed, and the Ouija board started going, ha, 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 ha.
Oh.
No.
Okay, that's weird. That is really strange.
Well, this has been fun, Robert. Thanks for coming on.
So nothing else ever happened in the house. And I've never been anywhere near a Ouija board since. But that was the first time, because again, I was a skeptic. I didn't believe it. And then something happened. Your mind starts going, well, maybe the TV just freaked out, coincidence, whatever. And I kind of forgot about it.
Right. Well, and I want to interrupt for just a second because I just want to remind people too that the Atari was pre-internet. So this wasn't like we had an internet connection where something could interfere with what was happening on the TV.
That's right. You had to put a cartridge in.
I mean, I'm sure this TV probably weighed 1,000 pounds. It was in a big old wooden case.
Yeah, absolutely.
I can picture the whole setup right now. So that is kind of something that's difficult to explain.
The Ouija board also predates the internet.
Yeah.
True. Very true.
And this wasn't an old Ouija board. This was like one of those Mattel ones with the plastic thing and the little brass nail.
Yeah.
So we lived in several different houses, including ones that like my wife's grandparents had died in and stuff like that. Never anything ever happened. We lived in Spain. We went to a lot of old castles and everything, never saw anything. And I don't even like horror stories. I don't like horror movies. I don't watch them. Maybe short stories of ghost stories, like classic ghost stories, The Lady in White in the Castle, something like that is okay. And I've enjoyed going on ghost tours because ghost tours are a way to tell history to people who aren't interested in history, right? So I've always enjoyed that. So we went through all this, and when we moved back from Spain in 2006, we rented a small farmhouse in East Peoria, Illinois, that was up on about 13 acres. It looked like it was real far out in the country, but it was like 5 minutes from downtown Peoria. And the owner of the house said, well, the house has been moved twice. It's really old. You could tell from the interior, it's probably last redone in the 20s or 30s. But when you looked up in the attic, the beams were all logs. And we moved in and we immediately, the house was in kind of disrepair. And he said we could do whatever we wanted. And so we stripped off wallpaper and painted. My daughter painted one of the rooms like a lime green because that was her favorite color. And every day that we lived in that house till the day we left, no matter who the last person to go to bed was, the kitchen cabinets would be closed. And no matter who was the first person up, they'd all be open.
All of them?
All of them.
Every single night.
Every night.
Why did it have to be all of them?
We never felt anything, we never did anything, but it made no sense because if you went to bed, I mean, we were night people. I'd worked nights for 10 years. I had teenagers. Often you weren't going to bed till 4 o'clock in the morning. They were never open during that time period. But if you went to bed at 4 and got up at 5, they were closed when you went to sleep and open when you got up.
That's wild.
Wow.
Again, one of those things like weird, but is there an explanation? I don't know. But it was just, that was the thing. So I'm going to skip the one where I know. I'm going to go to the one that's in my current house and I'll go back because it's a longer story.
Okay.
Okay.
So the house that I live in now, I don't know how old it is for certain. I've seen it on aerial views back to 1935. The center part's an old dog trot log cabin. And my next door neighbor grew up in the house. Her dad is the one that it had been used as a barn for a while. And he's the one that converted it back into a house. And we noticed when we moved in 2 things. One, we kept smelling cherry pipe tobacco off and on in the cabin portion because it's been added on to the front and rear. And 2, that the upstairs lights, you'd go to bed, they'd be off. You'd wake up in the morning, they'd be on. So we talked to her about it and, kind of how do you approach the subject? And she said when her parents still lived there, said that they would have events and you'd be sitting in that room all by yourself and all of a sudden you'd have a real strong smell of pipe tobacco. So they'd experienced that. And then the neighbor said that there's 2 pens of the log cabin, and in the one that the kitchen is in front of, there are doors that used to go outside that are now blocked off. And I use them, there's shelving in them now, but you can see where they used to be outdoors. And she said that when she was growing up, they would get up in the morning, there would be flour all over the floor and little footprints from where the door would have been if there weren't cabinets there on the floor. Now, we've not had that, but we have had the lights and we've had the tobacco.
Wow.
So
So just little footprints kind of emerging from
where a door would have been, yeah.
where a door.
Right.
Oh, wow.
Because where the kitchen is now, my guess is used to be the front porch of the house, would be my guess,
Yeah.
before it was enclosed. All right, so now to the big, long story. My wife and I purchased an 1895 Victorian in Pekin, Illinois, and we moved in and, we never felt anything. It was just a big old house and we enjoyed it and we started restoring it and we're doing all these things. And December 17th, 2013, my wife went upstairs to take a bath and I found her dead on the floor about an hour later.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
She had an embolism and died on the floor. It was right before Christmas, right before her birthday, which is on the 28th.
Oh, gosh, Robert.
All my kids were home from the Army, from college. And so, as you can imagine, we're all in shock and grief. And we're staying up late at night, kind of just watching HGTV. Like, that's when I started watching Nicole Curtis and the HGTV shows, just because none of us wanted to be alone.
Right.
We were just kind of hanging out together, right? So we're all in there, me, my 3 children, 2 of their significant others, the dog and the cat. And this is just a few days after Holly passed away. And all of a sudden there's a huge crash upstairs and all of us jerk around. The cat and the dog jerk around. What fell? So I go upstairs and there's nothing out of place. I can't find anything that would have made the noise. So it's like, whatever, I don't know what it is. That doesn't make any sense. And I tried to look for this because I had this all written down. I don't know if it's on a computer or if I lost it and upgrade to a phone or whatever at some time. But it was either that night or within a couple nights of that happening, Holly's cousin contacted me. And I'm going to say her name. She told me never to tell anybody this and to delete the text messages, but she's since passed away, so I think it's okay. Tammy said, hey, I told her it was too soon, but I've never talked to a more forceful spirit in my life, and Holly told me to tell you that she's okay and she's watching over you guys.
Oh.
And I'm being skeptical, like, Tammy, wow, this is crazy, right? My wife just passed away, your cousin just passed away, and you're telling me this. And she says, I know it sounds crazy. She says, Bobby, they called me Bobby. When Stephanie died, which was her sister, another one of Holly's cousins, and Tammy said when Stephanie died, Stephanie was the first, but ever since then, I've been able to talk to people on the other side. And I'm like, okay, Tammy, thank you. Thank you for letting me know. So it wasn't very long after that, maybe another 3, 4, 5 days, because my daughter, I had to send her back to veterinary school and my youngest son back to the Army. And so the house was finally quiet and I was going to bed and having to be alone. And I was laying in bed, drifting off to sleep. And all of a sudden I was falling asleep and I felt Holly. I felt her there. And then like this electrical shock ran up my body. That's the best way I can describe it. It felt like an electrical shock and my eardrums started kind of fluttering. And I'm like, what the hell was that? And I'm like, Holly, if that was you, do it again. And it happened again. And it happened like 3 or 4 times. I'm like, if that was you, do it again. It would happen again. And then I got a feeling like I need to talk to Tammy. So I pick up my iPad that's on the bedside table and I go to text Tammy and a message comes off from Tammy before I can finish typing mine. She says, she just did something, didn't she? She told me she did.
Oh, wow.
Wow. I would believe Tammy at this point.
So after that, and it goes on to this day, I don't own the house anymore. I sold it to my oldest son and my daughter-in-law, and my grandson and granddaughter live there. But after that, what would happen is I started remodeling the house. And whenever I was doing something, the Halloween before or 2 years before Holly passed away, on Halloween, the doorbell wasn't working. So I had gone and gotten all new wire and ran all new wire and put up a new doorbell. So it's all brand new from button to everything. Ever since she's passed away, whenever you're doing something new to the house, that thing would just go off by itself, just randomly.
Wow.
Wow.
And then the other thing that happened was I was off work for quite a while. I worked at a not-for-profit, the Peoria Historical Society at that time, and they were very generous in the time off. And when I finally felt like I could go back to work, one day my oldest son was sitting on the couch because I'd asked him and his girlfriend at the time, now his wife, to move back in with me. They'd had an apartment because I didn't want to be alone. And he was sitting on the couch as I was getting ready to work. And the front of the house had a living room, and then there was a large sitting room, and then the dining room, and then the door to go outside to go get in the car. And in that sitting room, there was a big IKEA bookcase that was there when we moved in. And I collect kerosene lamps and Aladdin lamps, and so they were all up there. And as I walked past to go to work, one of the lamp globes in front of me flew up off the lamp and smashed on the ground in front of me. And I turned around and I looked at my son, and his eyes were this big. And he says, Dad, that didn't fall. That flew. I said, that's what I saw too. So I stopped and I cleaned it all up. And when I shared it with people, the response I got was, something bad was going to happen to you, and she kept you from being there when it was going to happen. She made you clean that up.
Oh, interesting. So timing wise, maybe not necessarily in the house, but maybe later on in the day or whatever. It just timing wise, you were on a different timeline because you stopped and cleaned up that glass.
Yeah. And so other things were like my grandson, my oldest grandson was 2 years old when she passed away, and they'd been very close. And he would smile and talk to her in his sleep. And one of my granddaughters who lives in the house talks about grandma. I mean, they've told her about grandma. There's pictures of grandma, but she talks about conversations with grandma in the house. So that's the story. And so here's one where somebody knows who it is that the ghost is, Daniel.
Wow.
Because you always ask, and all of them.
I do.
That is kind of your question, isn't it, Daniel?
Gosh. Wow. Little kids always, the veil is thinner for them. They're right there.
Yeah, I mean, I don't remember this at all, but my mom said that I had an invisible friend when I was a kid that I was very particular about. Things had to be a certain way so he could sit in a certain place so he could watch over me at night. I don't remember any of it, but maybe that's the case, there's something there.
So would it be safe to say, you've told us all these stories, you started out by telling us you were a skeptic. Would it be safe to say that maybe you're not a skeptic anymore?
I'm at war with myself about it. Really, I am. Because my logic brain says this didn't happen, but It happened. Again, the text messages are gone. I hope they're saved off somewhere because my text messages only go back to 2016, but I had the text messages. It happened. I still, though, sometimes wake up and know that I've had a dream with her in it, but I don't think she's watching over me anymore. I have my girlfriend, Misty. We've been together since 2018, and I think she's watching over the kids. I think she's back at the house and she's watching over her grandkids and everything. But, so yeah, I mean, I'm at war with myself all the time. On the one hand, some things have happened that are irrefutable. They happened to me. There's no logical explanation. On the other hand, my logic says, it can't be true. But I mean, how do you explain it?
I totally get that.
Wow. Well, we've heard many stories on this show, and I think sometimes the spirits seem unhappy and would like to express that. And your spirits seem helpful and kind, or at least not trying to scare you.
Yeah, I mean, the worst is maybe, mischievous in the house, opening the cabinets.
The cabinet doors are excluding the cabinet doors.
Yeah, I think we have a lot of mischievous spirits on this show, Daniel. I wouldn't agree with you on that last statement. We have a lot of fun-loving spirits on this show.
That's true.
I do like to hear that maybe your wife is watching over your kids and your family, and for a time was watching over you too, Robert. I think that's really nice. And I'm kind of with you. Even when some things happen where I cannot refute them, I still remain in my heart of hearts a bit of a skeptic.
I want to believe in I read fantasy and sci-fi and I want elves to be real and all that stuff, but I know they're not. So it's just one of those things that I deal with, but I'm happy it's never been a scary thing because like I said, I don't like scary movies and that would just be,
Yeah, I'm right there with you. Thanks so much for sharing your stories with us and coming back on the show, Robert. This was great. I'm so glad that you told us that you had stories and that you're willing to come back.
Oh, I'm glad to share them. It's fun to be with you guys.
Good to see you again.
Thank you so much, Robert. Good to talk to you.
Bye, guys.
It was so nice to have Robert back again.
So good to see him again. Always a pleasure.
With that many stories to tell, I am still surprised that he's a bit of a skeptic.
I mean, okay, I have a very specific image that I think will stick with me maybe for the rest of my life, which is the planchette on the Ouija board just going back and forth between H and A and H and A. That is absolutely terrifying. And if you experience that as a young man, I'm not sure how you continue through life as a skeptic. But, that's just the kind of guy Robert is. He's
no
down
nonsense.
to earth. He'll help you in a disaster and tell you something really scary. And also maybe something very heartwarming and beautiful.
We're going to take another break, and we've got one more story for you when we come back.
In this last story, you'll meet Tracey, whose approach to the spirits in her home is unlike anything we've ever heard before.
Hello, I am Tracey Coltrane, and I am the proud owner of a home built in 1900 in historic town, PA, and we have an exciting Instagram page, Maud on Main, and we allow folks to follow us and join us as we work to fix up this, or I should say restore this beautiful haunted foursquare.
Welcome, Tracey.
Thanks for having me.
A beautiful haunted foursquare, you say?
She's got a lot of potential. She's got a lot of potential.
Well, excellent. And that's why you're here. Well, not only because your house has a lot of potential, but also because she's haunted. And we are celebrating a belated spooky season here on True Tales from Old Houses. And you contacted me and said, yeah, I got a spooky tale to tell. So why don't you just launch in, start, tell us what you've got.
Absolutely. Well, I have lots of spooky tales to tell with this particular home. Just looking at it, it looks like an old haunted house. So when my husband picked it out and bought it sight unseen, I was a little bit nervous. But what sold me on it were the 6 fireplaces. And it's just an absolutely gorgeous house with a lot of potential. So we just said, you know what? It's on our bucket list to restore an old home. This is 125-year anniversary of the home. So let's go for it. We were walking through the house. We were doing our home inspection, and a lot of things were wrong with it. And the woman out of the blue says, oh, but it's not haunted. And I was like, well, that's weird. Why would she say something like that? And they had lived there for 10 years or had lived here for 10 years. And I thought, well, it can't be that bad if someone lived here for 10 years. They weren't at least chased out of the house. So I would say the first thing that we noticed pretty quickly, because we did buy the house in the summer, were extremely cold spots in the house. And, I'd be sitting on the couch, hot in the house, no AC, and it just felt like ice sitting on top of me or beside me. But especially anytime I was doing home improvement plans or looking for furniture to buy or paint colors, I always felt that cold chill. And so that was a little concerning, but didn't think anything of it. And then one day my husband and I were preparing to go out and do some shopping for home improvement items and some furniture. We had a bunch of lists, and we had our Home Depot gift card. We got it all ready to go on the countertop for in the morning, and went downstairs and it was all gone. My husband was like, where did you put it? I didn't put it anywhere. No, it's gone. I said, no, you're just not looking in the right place. I go downstairs, everything's gone. The Home Depot gift card, the list of Facebook items we were going to pick up for furniture, renovation plans, things we were going to go get at Home Depot and Lowe's. Looked and looked and looked, and I never found the Home Depot gift card, but we did eventually find all of our plans in the garbage.
Whoa.
My husband could not find his work boots for quite a while. And then one day he found his work boots behind the dryer. There was no way they could have gotten there. So this is what kind of, I guess, began our journey of starting to realize that we were not alone in the home. It got to the point where at night we would have to turn on the white noise because there was so much banging and walking around in our home that we couldn't sleep. Our dogs would bark at it. They'd stare at stuff in the corners. So that kind of started us, I guess, our journey of let's look into this a little bit more and let's try to figure out what could be going on in the home.
Yeah. So let me stop you for just a minute because I want to go back. First of all, okay, wow. But also,
wow. Strong starts, Tracy.
Yeah, good start. But I also want to go back to when the owner, I guess it was the owner or the inspector, who told you that the house wasn't haunted? And then I'll ask your question. Who is it?
It was the homeowner. So she was present, for the walkthrough, for the inspection.
Right. So do you think she was telling you the truth? I mean, were you believers in ghosts at that time? Or do you think she was kind of trying to sell it like, oh, and it's not haunted?
Well, I definitely believed in ghosts at that time because we did live in another house, I would say 15 years prior, that was haunted, but it was like evil. Like the second I walked into that house, I knew there was something wrong with that house. We ended up lasting only about 4 or 5 months in that house. So when we first walked into this house, I wasn't picking up any bad energy. It didn't feel negative. It didn't feel bad. So when she just offered, oh, well, it's not haunted because the inspector was just tearing it to shreds. You're going to have to do this. You're going to have to do that. This is wrong. That's wrong. She was like, well, at least it isn't haunted. And I was like, oh, good. I'm not picking up that it is, but good. I'm glad to hear that. But now
that was good news for you.
It was good news for me because I didn't want to live in another house like that. And yeah.
Okay.
So looking back though, in hindsight, I think she was admitting that it probably was.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So we can flash forward again back to your story.
Okay. So let's see. Where did I leave off? So here's a couple really, really, really weird things that I think people would find interesting. So
Can I ask 2 clarifying questions?
Yeah.
Sorry. You said you've only been in this house like a year and a half? Boy. Okay.
Yep.
This is exciting.
A little over a year we've been here.
Whew.
Yeah, it's been a wild ride. So we had a contractor come in and he sat down in the den with us and he was going over costs to help us fix the soffits and some things with the roof and the gutters. All of a sudden, someone runs up the stairs of the basement and slams into our dog crate at the top of the steps. And the man jumped and we all jumped. And we were like, what was that? So we run over to the dog crate in the next room. There's no one there. We look down the basement stairs. There's nobody there. The basement door was even closed. So it's like, how did someone run up the stairs and hit the dog crate? So we
Right.
couldn't figure that out. We went and sat back down. And then a few minutes later, we heard what sounded like on the second floor, right at the top of the stairs, squirrels running around, skittering, scattering, running around, screeching, making noises. And we all freaked out and said, oh my gosh, squirrel's got in the house. We all run up the stairs thinking we're going to see squirrels. My husband had got a broom and took it up there. No squirrels. There was nothing up there. Whatever was in the home did not want that contractor in the house. We had to move out to the front porch to finish our meeting. And I do want to back up with just a little more history, though, about the house that might explain some of this.
Sure.
Like I said, it was built in 1900. It was built for the original judge of the courthouse that was being built at the time. And it was built across the street from the gallows where they would march people up and have them, yes.
Buried the lead.
And that's not even the most exciting part of this. And the judge would watch we have a huge picture window that overlooks the hill where the people were executed. And he would stand in the picture window and watch. And so that picture window is still here
Tracey.
and still there. And so, but I think the biggest part about the house, the most exciting part about the house is that an Italian family lived here for about 70 years. They raised their kids here, their grandchildren here, very proud of the home. Their name is on the home. The last name is DeBello. And we eventually did bring in a medium, didn't tell her anything about the house, and everything we had picked up on, she picked up on, and she was able to give us a lot of really exciting information about the people who are here and why they are here. But when we bought the house, the attic was absolutely chock full of their family heirlooms, family Bibles, letters,
Oh,
journals, toys, all their Christmas stuff. The basement was still full of all their canned goods from when they had a garden here and canned their own tomatoes and made their own tomato sauce and games that the children played. So no one who came in after this family died and eventually left, no one ever cleaned out the attic or cleaned out the basement. So we have all the family photos. We have all the family mementos, letters to and from Italy. And so we think when we
wow.
started to clean all of this up, as we were doing it, things were falling off the walls. Trash cans were being thrown. So we had to constantly keep explaining to them why we're doing this, why we're having to clean up the attic, why we're having to clean the basement, what we're doing. So much of our home, all of the dishes we use are from the home. The artwork on the walls is from the home. We use all the Christmas ornaments that we found every year. We're
Oh,
getting all of the pictures framed. We have the family Bible up in the cabinet. So we are trying to incorporate everything we found in the attic and in the basement into the home and the home decor. And that seems to really have calmed things down quite a bit. There is still someone pacing in the attic right above this room. And that is a residual energy, supposedly, according to the medium. Whereas we
right.
do have one very active male in the house. He's very much paying attention. So the medium was able to tell us what he's thinking, what he does and doesn't like, how he's affecting us in our life because he is having an effect on us.
Okay, so what'd she
And
say? What did she say?
Yeah.
Yeah, tell us everything she said
The
about this
full
person.
rundown.
Yes.
so it's funny because my daughter and I have seen him multiple times, and he's a very petite, um, dark haired male, and he does appear to be of working class. So maybe, I don't know, a factory. We are close to a lot of the old steel factories here in the Pittsburgh area. So it could be that it's Mr. DeBello. And, we do know that he was a blue collar worker and his wife stayed home. So he is very, very interested and concerned in what we're doing and who we are. She doesn't know if he knows he's dead or not, or deceased or not. She thinks maybe he thinks he's still living and we're kind of an interloper in his home. But he
Mm.
spends a lot of time in the basement. That's his favorite place to be. So we've set up kind of a space for him in the basement with a work table and a place to sit. And he liked to smoke. So we have cigarettes down there. He liked a beer on occasion. So we have a beer down there for him. So we've kind of set up a space for him to make him comfortable down there. He is down there a lot, but he also likes the second floor, which is where the bedrooms are. And so he hangs out in the hall and he likes to watch what we're doing in the rooms. He likes to keep an eye on us when we're doing home improvements. She said he watches us like hawks. At first, he didn't like that we were here. He didn't want us doing anything with the home, no renovations, no cleaning, no nothing. But I think as we started to explain to him who we were, what we were doing, why we were doing it, and just really included him in telling him anytime we were going to do a home improvement or work on something and just saying out loud, hey, just want to let you know, this is what we're doing. This is why we're doing it. We hope you like it. But I feel like the more we've included him, the more things have calmed down in the house. We don't feel as anxious. I was burning through energy like crazy. I mean, I would get up in the morning and start doing the restoration work. And by one, it was like every ounce of energy had drained out of me. And so we felt like he was purposely trying to drain us. And she did corroborate that yes, he is essentially an energy vampire.
Interesting.
He doesn't want you to
Wow.
have the energy to make the changes. There were a few occasions where I would distinctly feel someone touch my hair, pull my toe at one point in bed, touch
I
my
don't like
arm.
that. I
It
don't like that.
tends to happen. It tends to happen at night and in the bedroom. And I have made very strict rules. You are not to come in my bedroom. You're not to come in my bedroom at night. You know, we try to be really cool and chill and like respect the fact that this is his home as well as ours. But we also want him to expect our boundaries as well. So I do feel like that goes both ways. So we're very strict about that. But we have found he tends to honor that. So it never really gets aggressive. And I feel like it has really improved. I feel like the more he gets to know us, it's just a vibe of we're just accepted. And the other day I was laying in bed and this wasn't one of the times I saw him, but I distinctly from right beside where I was sitting in bed, he said my dog's name, Max. Yeah. Just clear as a bell. But my daughter, again, has seen him multiple times. I have seen him on multiple occasions. My daughter saw a different redheaded guy in the hall the other day that we've never heard of, that we've never heard about. We do also have some information on who we believe is Mrs. DeBello, his wife. She was seen in the kitchen. My dogs see and feel her the most. And the way we feel her presence is as we were digging through layers of wallpaper and paint. I picked out all the paint colors before we really even started our restoration and renovation process. I picked out all the paint colors, just kind of walking through, just trying to get a feel for, what would look good in here based on fireplace colors and, things of that nature and the tile. And as we were digging through, and I'm not even lying, like 8 out of 10 of the colors that we picked were already done into the house and like an exact match, meaning they had been used in the house by this family at some point. And so I almost felt like I may have been channeling her or she was trying to somehow communicate with me. So we feel like she's happy we're doing this. She's happy we're fixing the house up. She loves having me here, fixing everything up, making it pretty again. According to the lady that walked through, she is in the kitchen. She's cleaning, cooking, taking care of her family still, taking care of her home still. And she doesn't even really pay a lot of attention to us. So she feels like she's kind of half in and half out. Like she is in her own world. She doesn't really know she's deceased. And she really isn't very aware of our presence or isn't bothered by our presence. So very different from her husband, again, who we're thinking is her husband, who's very concerned and involved.
Yeah.
Except when he's taking a smoking break in the basement.
Yes,
Right.
and you
I
can
can't get past the cigarettes for the ghost.
Yeah.
It's so funny.
You
That is
smell
so funny.
and occasionally you smell cigarettes, and it's like,
Is
oh,
he a
dude,
Marlboro man?
please, yes, Marlboro Reds. But it's like, oh my gosh, don't do that in the house, or
Yeah.
yeah.
I'm getting a picture of them as a couple who was alive, where she's just kind of happy-go-lucky and he's kind of a bit of a curmudgeon, and he goes to work and he comes home and he's a little grouchy and he just wants his beer and his smokes and to be left alone. And I don't know if that's true, but
And hang out in that basement.
Yes.
And yes.
Yeah.
And we heard they had a big garden. They love growing tomatoes, and just reading their family letters. We have all their family letters. We have their journals. So just in
Wow,
reading
that
their
is so
journals,
cool.
it's so cool. And it scared me at first, and I wanted to leave. My first response was, I got to get out of here, especially because when winter hit and it's cold, and this house looks like a haunted house from the outside. It really does. So nobody would be surprised to probably hear it's haunted. But just in reading their letters and reading their correspondence, they absolutely loved this house. And I think they just didn't want to leave. They had some of their best times and memories in this house, and I
Wow.
think they're still here.
So when you see, like, physically see these entities, what are you seeing? Like regular human, or what are you seeing?
So that's a great question. So the first time that I physically saw him, I think my daughter definitely sees him as a person because she can give me details. Like,
Mhm.
she came up to the top of the stairs one day and he's sitting on the couch in one of the bedrooms. I was in bed one day facing the window and just happened to turn around toward the fireplace in my bedroom, and he literally was standing there. And he is petite. He's very petite, dark hair. But I think what freaked me out about that particular time is he went like this. And I was like, whoa, because I don't think he thought that I could see him, because I can't see him all the time. I mean, there are times you can tell he's there, but you can't see him with your eyes, or you can hear him walking up the stairs. You can hear him walking in the hall, but you can't see him. It
Yeah,
was
that's really
bizarre.
creepy.
It was
Yeah,
I
that's
love
bizarre.
it.
scary.
I love it.
And there was a space
I
beside
do
me on the
not.
bed, and I immediately put pillows on it, and I was like, "You get out of the room. You need to leave." Like,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
that was a little creepy.
Sure. Yeah. Okay, so my question for you is this. We listen to these stories. We've done these stories for years. I did them before Daniel was my co-host. And then, Daniel, he loves them. So we've
I
done
just love
many,
them.
many with Daniel since then. Most people don't want it. If they have hauntings to this degree, they don't want to keep them. So they invite a medium in, they do certain things like salt in all four corners of the room. They go to great lengths to get the ghost to move on to wherever it is ghosts go when they move on.
Mm-hmm.
You have not done that. And I'm wondering, I guess, why not? Why is it so important to you that they get to stay?
So we did bring in a medium, and I have to, I guess, frame that. She is a very, very well respected medium on social media. Very, very well respected. And she was so excited about it. She was like, I'm not even going to charge you. She was like, but I don't want to know anything. I don't want to know where you are. I don't want to know anything that's going on. Where we live it's known for old houses and it's a very active area. It's a very historic old area. So the lady, because she had done this other house in the neighborhood that was just blew her socks off, she was like, I'm going to do this for you, but for free. But other than that, didn't know anything really about my house other than we thought it was haunted. She didn't come in person, but she told me to take my video camera on my phone and start in the basement and go around every corner, go under the porch. And I literally walked around and went all the way up to the attic and went in every room. And when she read it and she came back, everything she was saying was really scary to me, because you could tell she was very excited. She was like, you have so much going on in your house, and you have something on every floor. And just the energy, and that's not what I wanted to hear. I really wanted to hear, you're going crazy, you're wrong, there's nothing in your house, everything's fine, you're just nervous because it's an old house and you're trying to restore it. That's what I expected to hear. I didn't expect to hear that it was quite a bit more than I even bargained for. And we were pretty scared, and we worked with her for weeks. And I did ask her, I said, what can we do to move them on and to move them out of the house. And she basically just said, from my experience, they're not mean, they're not evil, they're not bad, they're not harming you in any way, but this is their journey in life with God or the universe or whatever. And this is the journey that they're on, and this is the journey that you're on, and you guys were meant to intersect here for whatever reason. And she said, you can offer help. You can offer to help them move on. She said, but if they don't want to move on, you really have to look at it like they're not there to harm you. And this is their life and their choice. And who are we to play God? Who are we to tell them you have to do this, whether you want to or not? We just said, well, if it continues to be okay and we continue to be comfortable and we don't feel threatened, we're just going to try and live together peacefully and coexist. And so far, that's worked really well.
Yeah.
And I've heard it's really special that, not a lot of people have this in their old homes or to this degree. And we've had people who want to come in now and study it and do ghost hunts, and we're afraid they're going to get mad at us if we do that. So we're just like, no, I don't think we're going to do anything like that. But
yeah, it's probably wise.
Yeah, I don't want to make anybody mad. I want to be respectful. Like even now I'm sitting here going, I hope he's not mad. I hope he's okay with this.
Tell them we're all on their side. We just want to hear the story. We're just interested in the story. And we don't think it's good or bad. We just want to hear the story. So,
yes, because it's fascinating. And honestly, I was an atheist before the very first haunt. We've only lived in a couple, thank heaven, but I was pretty much an atheist. I didn't believe in anything after death. I thought this was it, but these experiences have really opened me up to there's so much more than we really understand, so much more, to this world than what meets the eye. And that's opened a whole new world for me in so many ways. So I almost feel like now I look at it as a gift that I've been exposed to this.
That's great. Well, Tracey, thank you so much for telling this incredible story. It was really a good one. And it was so nice to
thank you
meet
for having me. Thank you so much. It was great meeting you guys.
Yeah,
I love your show, love your podcast. So it's definitely exciting to be on and to be a part of it.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much.
What a great story. Oh my goodness.
Yeah,
so much
definitely.
Captain. Appreciate
Thank you. Hopefully Mr. DeBello is proud.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I'll let him watch it with me.
Thank you for the content, Mr. DeBello.
Yes, exactly.
Holy cow, that really had it all.
I don't think I've ever met or heard a story where the family wanted to keep the ghost as much as Tracey and her husband want to keep it. I mean, they're just like, oh, okay.
Well, and my very favorite, I know I brought it up again in the interview, but accommodating the ghost by creating a whole space for him, including his cigarettes, is so hilarious to me. And I can't I'm going to be talking about that for weeks. That was so funny.
Both setting a boundary, don't touch my hair, don't touch my feet, but also here's your spot in the basement. I love it. Yeah.
Smoke if you want. Fake smoke if you want.
Wonderful story.
Good.
These have been so much fun.
That was great.
All right, this is it. Again, thank you for being on this show with me, adding such rich layers to this chapter in True Tales from Old House's History, Daniel.
Well, thank you, Stacy. As always, thank you for having me, and thank you for listening to True Tales from Old Houses. Thank you again to our sponsors, Sutherland Wells, Heritage Supply Company, Repaint Studios, and Bruins & Co. Linseed Oil Paint.
To continue the conversation, follow True Tales from Old Houses on Facebook or Instagram, and you're welcome to follow me at Blake Hill House, and Daniel Stead, you can still follow him at Daniel Kanter. I love your emails and voicemails, so please send both. You can do that on the True Tales from Old Houses website. And if you enjoyed today's episode, hit follow or subscribe wherever you're listening right now.
And feel free to leave a rating or review. It's free and it helps more Old House lovers find this show.
I'm going to miss you, Daniel.
I'll miss you so much, but we'll talk over text and stuff.
Sounds good. I'll be here next week. Until next time.
Enjoy season 13, everyone.